Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Class 8, we are doing chapter number 6, heat transfer. And we are going through the applications of thermal expansion of solids. Now, construction of a bridge. As we know that a bridge is made up of iron or steel girders. So, one end of these steel girders is fixed. One end is fixed in thick cemented concrete pillar and the other end is free to move. It is placed on rollers. So due to any rise or fall in temperature, the girders roll over the rollers without causing any damage to the supporting pillars. Thus it prevents the bridge from collapse. As we know that solids expand in summers and contract in winters. When temperature rises, the solid expands, and when temperature decreases, the solids contract. So for this reason, the bridge, which is made up of steel or iron girders, is made in such a way that the steel girders are fixed at one end and the other end is left free to move on the rollers. So if there is any rise or fall in the temperature, what happens? The girders roll over the rollers. So there is no damage caused to the supporting pillars, and thus the bridge is prevented from collapsing. So this is a bridge. This is the fixed end and this is the free end, and this free end is placed on rollers, due to which this bridge is prevented from any damage or from collapsing during expansion and contraction. Thick-walled glass tumbler cracks when heated. We have seen many times that when a hot liquid is poured into a thick-walled glass tumbler, what happens? It often cracks. Now, why is this happening? It is because glass is a bad conductor of heat. So, when hot liquid is poured into the glass tumbler, what happens? The inner wall of the glass tumbler gets heated very quickly while the outer wall remains at the room temperature. So, inner wall undergoes expansion and the outer wall remains unaffected. So there is an unequal thermal expansion of the two sides of the glass tumbler. Now this results in cracking of the glass tumbler. So to avoid this, Borosil Pyrex glass is used, as they do not crack on heating or cooling, as the outer and the inner surface expands or contracts almost equally. So now what have you understood? When a hot liquid is poured in a thick walled glass tumbler, what happens? The inner wall gets heated very quickly, so it expands suddenly, while the outer wall is at room temperature, so it remains unaffected. So due to this unequal expansion of the two sides of the glass tumbler, what happens? The glass tumbler cracks. So which type of glass is used? Borosil or Pyrex glass is used to avoid this breakage, because they do not crack on heating, as the outer and the inner walls expand or contract almost equally in Borosil or Pyrex glass. Now fitting iron or steel rim on a wooden wheel. Now the wooden wheel of the horse cars or the bullock cars, they are fitted with iron or a steel rim to increase their lives, to make them more durable. So what happens? The diameter of the rim is slightly smaller than the diameter of the wooden wheel. So this steel rim is now heated, and when it is heated, it expands. Now this expanded rim is placed on the wooden wheel. now it is cooled down by pouring cold water on it. And when it cools, what happens? It contracts on cooling and it gets fitted on the wheel very tightly. Now similarly, the glassware which is used in the microwave in the kitchen, they are made up of Borosil or Pyrex glass. This is also to avoid breakage. So it has very low coefficient of thermal expansion, and due to this it does not crack on heating or cooling. And it is also made thin, so the inner and outer surfaces of the glassware expand almost equally. So the glassware which is used in the kitchen microwave, they are made up of Borosil or Pyrex glass because it is very thin, and so the outer and the inner surfaces of the glassware expand almost equally. So there is no chance of cracking on heating or cooling. And it has very low coefficient of thermal expansion. Now riveting. What is riveting? It is the act of securing two overlapping metal plates very tightly by using rivets, which is a metal used for fastening metal plates. So to join two metal plates firmly, what happens? They are placed on one another at their one ends. So these metal plates, they are placed on one another and a hole is drilled through them. Then a rivet is heated until it becomes red hot. Then it is inserted into these holes. So the end which is red hot is very soft. So this hand is now hammered to make it flat. And on cooling, the rivet contracts and it holds the plates very firmly. Now removing a stuck cap from a bottle. Now when a metallic cap is stuck on a bottle, then how can it be removed? It can be removed by pouring hot water over it. So when the hot water is poured over the cap, what happens? The metallic cap expands and it becomes very easy to open it as it becomes loose. So this loosened cap can be removed very easily. Now the clock pendulums are made up of Invar. Now what is Invar? It is an alloy of iron and nickel, and it is used to make clock pendulums. Now what happens? Why is it used to make clock pendulums? Because it has very small coefficient of thermal expansion. And whenever there is any change in the season, there is no change in the length of the pendulum. So there is no change in the length of the pendulum with the change in the season, and it gives almost the correct time throughout the year.